What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am Joby, the Natural Gearhead, and that's my 2005 GMC Sierra Duramax LLY. Had a code pop up the other day, Glowplug number 4, left the building. So in this video, we're gonna swap that out real quick, and I'll show you a few things on how to change it. Let's check it out. So this is my 2005 GMC Sierra LLY Duramax 6-speed manual version. I bought this truck brand new. It's been with me for a long time now. And like I said, that number 4 plug, gone. So what you want to do to swap this thing out, number 4 anyway, they're all a little bit different. The passenger side, you don't really need to remove much. The driver side's a little different. If you're doing number 2, so the cylinders are 2, 4, 6, 8 on the driver's side. It's kind of backwards from most vehicles, I feel like, at least the regular Chevy stuff. If you're doing like the first one, number 2, you got to pull like the intercooler pipe. You could probably work around it, I think. The one we're doing, number 4, the steering shaft's in the way. There's just stuff in the way on this side. You can do it with the tire off, would help. If you had it in the air with the tire off, that would help. Obviously, if you take the wheel well, that's going to help a lot. Just pull that out. I can kind of show you what's going on there, how to get that out. I'm going to try to do without removing any of that. Make it hard on myself, but I don't know. You're trying to do less work, and sometimes you end up doing more work not removing some stuff. But we'll see. I'm going to get in here and take a look at it and see if we can just get in there and do that without pulling the wheel well. But let's take a look and see what we got going on. All right, so we're in the wheel well here. If you're wanting to remove the wheel well, you got some clips. You got like one here, you got one here, you got one over there. See, they're kind of hidden all around the wheel well here. These little pieces here, these little pins, plastic pins, these are like for your wiring harness and stuff on the other side of the wheel well. You're gonna wanna pop those loose. Kind of easy from this side, just push them out. And then you got one down there, and same thing, those clips just kind of go all the way around the wheel well. And so if you want to pop that out, that'll get that out of the way, and we may end up doing that. I'm gonna try to go in right through here and pull this out of the way a little bit and just see if I can get up in there and get to some of those, or at least number 4. That's the one we're looking for. Let's get you in there and we'll get a better look. All right, guys, I got you in here. So that right in front of you, that accordion looking thing, that's your steering shaft, okay? And right, I'm gonna use a laser pointer, right there, that is your harness for your glow plug. This is the number 4. That's the glow plug it connects to. So there's a nut on there we gotta get off. That's an 8mm. And then we're gonna go in with, I believe, a 12mm to get that out of there. Now this is crammed in here and it's very hard to get my hands in here, let alone video. But I want to show you what it looks like, and let's see if we can get this thing out of here. I'll try to video as much as I can. I don't know how much you can see because it's very tight in here, especially with the wheel well still on. So let's see if we can get this thing out of here. As you can see, I have pre-soaked it. I recommend that also, depending on your truck where you're at. Be very rusted. So pre-soak it with some PB Blaster or Croil or something like that. The other thing I want to mention, guys, is you're going to want to pre-soak these things. Your favorite penetrant oils, right? So I'm an Aerocroil person. Aerocroil, PB Blaster, maybe even some WD-40, something like that. You want to soak it down because not only that nut, but the threads inside, hopefully you can kind of get in there and let that, maybe spray it, let it sit 20 minutes. If you're up north, you can see this in the wheel well, right? So you get a lot of corrosion. It's heat, right? It's getting hot, cold. They can want to freeze in there, and you do not want to break that thing off inside the head. You do not want that to happen. So pre-soak, let it sit, be patient. Go in, we'll get the 8mm, we'll get that nut cracked loose, we'll get it off, pull the wire off, and then I do believe it's a 12mm. I'll update you as I get in here. And we want to just slowly crack that thing loose and just work it out. Just be super careful because you do not want to break it off. All right, let's continue on. Okay, so I got my 8mm short well with the stubby. Let's see if we can get in here and get to this thing, get this crack loose. All right. Oh, wow. That curl did a good job. The thing, either it was loose or the curl did its job. So let me get that unscrewed off there. Let's see if we can get the wire off. All right, let's do that. Okay, success. We got the nut off. So now we get the wire off. It just slides right off the terminal end. Okay. Then we'll come in here and we're gonna get this glow plug out. So I'm gonna check and make sure, but I believe this is a 12mm. Update you in a second. Okay, so it is a 12mm, but as you can see, there's not enough room between the steering shaft and the glow plug. You got to use a deep well to get in there to reach the nut to turn that glow plug, and when you put the deep well in, there's not enough room between the end of the socket and the steering shaft. And again, you could take the steering shaft loose and slide this apart and drop it down. I don't want to do that. I'm not even taking the wheel well or tire off. Like I said, I'm making it a little harder on myself, but I'm only changing one glow plug. If you were changing all these glow plugs, probably best to remove the wheel well, maybe the tire, the steering shaft, the intercooler pipe. Just make it easy on yourself. Do you have to? No, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So since I can't fit it in there, I've got the socket on and a pair of small vice grips clamped on that socket. And that's what I'm using. And I wish I could show you. Let me see if we can get it to turn. There we go. And she just broke loose. So it's going to be a little bit of a process. Hopefully that thing will loosen up and I can just wind it out by hand. But I can't video and do it at the same time, so I'm going to get this plug out, hopefully. And I'll show you what it looks like once I get it out. Psych! As you can see in the video, that didn't work. I thought it did. It felt like it broke loose. I had the camera jammed in there. I was doing everything blind, so I couldn't see what was going on. I was kind of surprised how easy it felt to loosen up. But these guys, not enough gription power, apparently. If you see in the video, these were spinning on the socket. I gave it a few shots. I'm like, man, this just doesn't seem right. Looked at the video, realized, oh, yeah, that's probably why. So, found another solution. I'll get you in here and see what we came up with. All right, we're back. So, as you can see, I've got the socket on and I got a 1/4 inch breaker bar. I was able to grab the steering shaft and move it just enough to slide it with that in there. The ratchet has a little too much just thickness, a little too much girth there to fit. But the breaker bar is thinner, it fits in, slide in. Now the disadvantage, obviously you can't ratchet it, but if we can get it broke loose, then we can hopefully do it by hand or figure something out. But you don't want to back it out too much anyway and get that stuck between the steering shaft and the socket. Then you're in a pickle, right? Then you got to run it back in anyway. So see if we can break it loose with this. Hopefully it goes a little bit better. And it actually breaks loose and doesn't trick me. Because I thought we were broken loose and I was all excited. But now we got, this is a much better setup. Just kind of, golly. Yep, she's stuck. Oh yeah, that was it. All right. Now she's broke loose. I'll get that thing out of there and we'll continue the video because like I said, the camera is right in my way. Well, ran into another roadblock. We did have to take the steering shaft loose. Now to get it loose, in the video I'm sure you've seen the bolt, so it's just a 15mm bolt, what looks almost like a washer on the back. is actually like an anti-rotation for this nut, so that you don't even have to hold the nut side. You just start turning it. And then the steering shaft itself, which I knew this, I just was trying to get away with it, but I'll tell you here in a second why we had to take it loose. But the steering shaft just slides apart. So you'll slide the upper part towards the cab out of the lower piece that goes down to the rack. Careful not to turn anything. I'm not sure if it's 100% necessary, but I did do this. I took the steering column and just pulled it down and put it on a tubbo towels here to hold it from spinning so that it don't lose its place. So that's where he lives, and it'll stay there until I'm ready to hook it back up. Now, down here, I'll show you real quick why we took that loose. All right, so here's the glow plug. The glow plug is pretty long, longer than expected. Now, this thing does say LLY right on it, which is pretty crazy. If the camera will focus, LLY there and LLY there. So this is the 8mm nut. This is the 12mm. The threads are a little far down, which is a little scary because that thing could probably twist off, but not too bad. I've seen worse. I've seen them where the threads are like clear down here and they can twist. So anyway, yeah, so what you need, this was the arsenal I had went to tackle the project to make sure I had what I need. So this way you don't have to. Now you know exactly what to go to. So just a short well 8mm. I recommend a 6-point just because you get more bite that way than over a 12-point. And it's a stubby, which helps. This was the 1/4-inch breaker bar that I used to fit in between the steering shaft and whatnot. But on number 4, if you need to change it, you're gonna have to take the steering shaft loose anyway to get said glow plug out, right? So just go ahead and disconnect it, make it easy on yourself, and then you could probably just use a ratchet. But you definitely need a deep well 12mm. This one is also a 6-point, which again gets more bite than a 12-point, less chance of stripping. That and that. You need a 15mm socket for taking the steering shaft loose to get this bolt out. I broke it loose with a ratchet and then stuck the impact on there and just zung it off because this impact, she's a little tired, so she didn't have enough power to crack it loose, so I cracked it with a ratchet, zung it out with that. I did coil that bolt also on the backside just to help it come out easier. So I'm gonna run down to my local parts store and pick one of these up. They're about 20 bucks each, and I am gonna get the AC Delco brand. You wanna get a quality piece, guys, because if this breaks off, you get something cheap from China, and this breaks off and goes in your motor, well, guess what? You just bought yourself a new motor. So let me go down and get some parts, and be back in a minute. All right, we're back. We got the new part here. You can see we got the AC Delco 63G. This is the old one. This is the new one. So always make sure they're the same. Make sure you got the right part, same length, everything. The new one does not come with this nut. I took it off the old one, put it in here. It's still in good shape. So just something to think about when you buy one, that you may have to purchase a new one if you drop this or lose it or it's rotted and rusted. Gonna need a new one of those. So I was gonna check the ohms on this real quick and just see if it is bad and compare it to the new one. So we'll take the old one. We got her in horseshoe mode here. Ohms. So you're just gonna wanna check it to the body, like the threads, and where that nut, that little nut goes. And you'll just put those two together and just see what we come up with here. All right, so we're getting 23.6 ohms on the old one. Now we'll go to the new one. It should have a lot less resistance if that one's bad. So we'll go to the new one. Yeah, 2.7 ohms on the new one. So we know that this thing, the old one, has a high resistance, and that's our problem. So we'll go ahead and install this. I'm going to install a little bit of anti-seize just on these threads right here so that it doesn't get frozen in the block. I've read mixed things about people using anti-seize. I'm I'm putting a little on there. I have some nickel-based anti-seize, and that's what I'm gonna put on here. I've worked on jet engines for a lot of years, and we use it on those engines, and not on glow plugs necessarily, but a lot of stuff on the engine, and it really does help. And if somebody does not put something on one of those bolts that we're using on the engine and you try to remove it, it will surely snap. So I'm gonna put just a little right here. We'll have plenty of contact area with the threads because this is the ground, and get this installed. I think it's 13 foot-pounds for this, but you've seen all the area we have in there. It's not very much, and I'm not gonna torque it. So I'm just gonna run it down snug, and then we're gonna put the wire back on, take this, snug it up. It's very small, don't break off the stud because that would suck on your brand new glow plug. And then we're gonna put the steering shaft back together. So let's start putting this thing together. Alrighty, we're back in here. Got a little bit of anti-seize. Really hard to see. Let's get it started. Make sure it's not cross-threaded. Get my 12mm, snug it up. Just get it snug. Like I said, 13 foot-pounds. You don't want to kill this thing, especially with a little bit of anti-seize. Now it's got lubricant, so I just snug them up. That'll get that done. It's a lot easier to do this with that steering shaft out of the way, I'll tell you that. Okay, now let's get the wire back on. Alright, you also want to make sure this contact area is clean. You can see this one is. And I was going to anti-seize these threads, but I decided not to, because in the end, if I'm changing one of these and this were to break off, you know, this stud, that's not the main concern for me. So the last one, we were able to get to this real easy and spray it with Croil, and it came loose. The threads in there are a lot harder to get that penetrating oil to get in the head. So I'm gonna slide the wire on, and we're gonna get that nut on here and snug him up. So we got the nut here. This is the old one, like I said. It does not come with a new one. So make sure either you buy a new one if yours is rusted real bad, corroded, or you might want to have one anyway just in case you drop it and lose it. So just run it on by hand. Make sure you don't cross thread it. Snug it. Again, I'm just snugging mine up, but make sure this wire right here, you might want to clock it to the left counterclockwise, because when you tighten this nut, it's going to want to spin that wire, and you don't want it getting up into any of this and shorting out, because this wire is going to be hot when you're turning the key on to heat up this glow plug, which grounds through the case. So the case of the glow plug. So you know, when you tighten this up, you want to make sure this isn't chafing anywhere, is what I'm saying. So let me get that 8mm socket, and we'll go ahead and snug this up real quick. Just snug it up with using my finger here to hold it clocked. All right, that ought to do it. So everything looks good here. So next thing I'll have to do is get the steering shaft all hooked up. So let me see if I can get you to see that. So the steering shaft, right here, let's see here, try to keep the light. You can see the hole where the bolt goes, and then up here is where the steering shaft is. So the upper part, you'll line this up, the upper part will just slide in to here. There's a bolt goes through, the nut was on the back side with that anti-rotation, and then you just snug it up, tighten her down, and that'll all be hooked up, and we'll be able to ops check it. Alright, so we're gonna grab this lower part, line it up with the upper, and then of course I can't see what I'm doing at all, but you want to line these up, and this upper part will slide out, and then once you're clocked, it should slide together, and then you get your bolt in there. So at least that's the theory of it. So let me get this lined up and slid in, and we'll pick it up from there. Okay, Shaft this together. All right, shaft this together. I'm just putting the final torque on it. I did apply a little bit of blue Loctite to this because this is the steering shaft. This rotates. You're going back and forth and working this bolt. And this is a heavy duty bolt. You should be fine with that. A little bit of blue Loctite. It's not super permanent, right? But it will hold it in place. It looked like the factory had some Loctite on it too. So put it back like that, snug it up good. We're all back together. Now I'll hop back inside and fire it up and see if we have any codes. All right, let's go in here. Pour our tub of towels out. We'll hit the tilt. It's holding our steering wheel in place. Climb up in. Check and see if we got any. There's our glow plug light came on, went off. Put her in neutral, light her off. All right, we're good. No light. Perfect. Cycle it one more time just to, lights on, lights off. That light will stay on, and like that light will come on. It'll stay on a lot longer when it's cold, but if you have a problem, you'll get an engine light, and that's the indicator that you got a problem, right? And then you'll scan it for your code, just in case you haven't had this issue before and you're not familiar with it. There, we're back on. No engine light. I just wanted to cycle it a few times to make sure. Sweet, looks good. Well, that wraps it up, guys. We got the glow plug swapped out. Again, it was the AC Delco 63G, and that's for this 2005 LLY. Depending on what you're working on, make sure you're getting the right parts and quality parts. AC Delco is going to be a GM used brand, and you don't want to buy that cheap Chinese knockoff. I'm telling you, if it comes, that end melts off and falls in the cylinder, you got bigger problems. Also, if you're changing all of them over here, honestly, if I was changing all four, I would took that wheel well out, probably took this tire off, get it in the air, get the tire off. The steering shaft, you definitely want to take that loose for sure for that number 4. The forward one, the intercooler piping may get in your way. If you can leave it, leave it. If you can't, deal with it, take it out of the way. Make it easier on yourself a little bit is what I'm saying, because usually I try to fight it and go around things, but sometimes in the long run it ends up costing you more time because you fight, and you're messing with different tools trying to get it to work, and then you end up taking it apart anyway. So that being said, hopefully you learned how to change out a glow plug on a Duramax, and it has helped you. And maybe, if you didn't have some of the tools, you have the tools prepped and ready now. You've seen some of the pitfalls I had, and gives you a good idea of the job. So please like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you in the next one.